The security office was dimly lit, cluttered with old monitors displaying grainy footage of the park. The hum of the machinery mixed with the soft bubbling of the water pressing against the dome. The gang stood around the control panel while Martha and Dr. Graves lingered near the door, tension evident in their faces. Fred studied the footage again. Every time the spectral captain appears, the lights flicker. That's no coincidence. Velma adjusted her glasses. Whoever's behind this is using the power grid. If this ghost is just a trick, it's being carefully controlled. Daphne crossed her arms. So someone wants people to believe the park is haunted. Shaggy gulped. Like, I'm convinced. Can we leave now? Martha let out a sigh. We've had strange electrical failures since the renovations began. We thought it was just the old systems acting up, but now I wonder. Dr. Graves clenched his fists. It's sabotage. Someone doesn't want this park to reopen. Fred turned to Martha. Who would want to stop the reopening? She hesitated. There were concerns about safety. Some believed the park should stay abandoned. Velma tilted her head. What about people from the original staff? Anyone still around? Martha glanced at Graves before responding. Only Captain Horace Flint. Shaggy paled. Captain. As in ghostly pirate captain? Daphne raised an eyebrow. Who is he? Martha folded her arms. He was the park's lead diver and maintenance officer. When the park shut down, he refused to leave. He's been living in an old maintenance pod on the ocean floor ever since. Fred frowned. He's lived down here alone for 20 years? Graves nodded. He believes the park is cursed. Says the ocean doesn't want it here. Velma adjusted her glasses. If anyone knows what really happened, it's him. We need to talk to Captain Flint. Martha sighed. He doesn't trust anyone. Fred shrugged. Then we'll just have to change that. The gang boarded a small submersible pod and descended deeper into the ocean. The water darkened, the colorful reefs fading into eerie rock formations. Broken remains of old park expansions lay scattered across the seabed. Shaggy hugged himself. Why do I feel like we're being watched? Scooby whimpered and pointed at the window. A dark shadow moved through the water, too large to be a normal fish. Daphne gasped. What was that? Fred kept steady. Stay sharp. We're almost there. The maintenance pod loomed ahead, rusted and worn, half buried in the seabed. The faint glow of flickering lights showed someone was inside. They docked and stepped into the airlock. The interior smelled of rust and seawater, cluttered with tools, old oxygen tanks, and paper stacks. A rough voice called out, "Who's there?" From the shadows, Captain Horace Flint emerged. He was tall and worn by time, his thick gray beard unkempt, his piercing eyes filled with suspicion. His patched diving suit hung loosely, and a belt of rusted tools rested at his side. Fred stepped forward. We're investigating what's happening at Atlantis Fun Park. We think you might have some answers. Flint scowled. You shouldn't have come here. Daphne crossed her arms. Because of the spectral captain? Flint let out a dry laugh. You think he's just a story? I saw him 20 years ago. He warned us, told us the ocean wouldn't let this park stay. Velma narrowed her eyes. Or someone wanted the park shut down and made sure you saw exactly what they wanted. Flint's expression darkened. Stay here long enough, and he'll come for you too. A sudden flicker ran through the station, followed by a deep, ghostly moan. Scooby whimpered. Row! The monitors flashed, revealing grainy footage of the ocean outside. Then, through the murky water, a shadowy figure drifted past the station window. The spectral captain was watching. Fred clenched his fists. Looks like we just found our next clue. The gang stood frozen inside Captain Flint's maintenance pod, their eyes locked on the flickering monitors. Through the grainy footage, the spectral captain drifted past the station window before vanishing into the murky darkness. Scooby whimpered. Ghost! Shaggy clutched his chest. Like, I don't care if it's a ghost or a guy in a costume. I just know we're stuck down here with it. Velma adjusted her glasses. Something about that footage isn't right. The way it moves. It's too smooth, almost like a projection. Captain Flint let out a low chuckle. You kids think you're so smart. You're looking for a trick. That this place doesn't need tricks. The ocean has its own ghosts. Fred frowned. We know someone's manipulating the park's power system. If the spectral captain is appearing every time the lights flicker, then someone is controlling it. Daphne studied the cluttered pod, her eyes landing on an old diving suit propped against the wall. If you're so convinced this is real, why do you still have all this equipment? You could have left years ago. Flint's face darkened. Because I know what's coming. Velma crossed her arms. Then tell us. Flint hesitated, then walked over to a metal filing cabinet and pulled out a dusty old folder. He tossed it onto the table. This is all that's left of the first incident. Maybe now you'll believe me. Fred flipped through the papers. The pages were worn and yellowed, filled with maintenance reports, security logs, and old blueprints. But one document stood out, a handwritten incident report with a date circled in red. Velma leaned in. That's the night the park shut down. Daphne read aloud. Electrical failures. Unexplained system malfunctions. Multiple employee reports of a ghostly figure near the ride controls. Fred glanced at Flint. Did anyone see the spectral captain up close? Flint's expression hardened. One person. They never spoke about it again. Shaggy's voice wavered. You mean they disappeared? Flint shook his head. No, but whatever they saw that night changed them. They left the next day and refused to talk about it. Before anyone could say another word, a loud metallic clang echoed through the pod. Scooby yelped and leapt into Shaggy's arms. Fred turned to the monitors. Something's outside. The screen flickered, showing the ocean just beyond the pod's outer shell. At first, nothing moved. Then, suddenly, a dark shape darted across the screen. Velma narrowed her eyes. That's not a ghost. That's a diver. Daphne pointed. Look, they're messing with the power conduits. Fred's expression tightened. That could be what's controlling the ghost's appearances. Flint stepped in front of them. You don't want to go out there. If you do, you'll regret it. Fred pushed past him. We'll take that risk. Minutes later, the gang was suited up in diving gear, their oxygen tanks hissing as they stepped into the airlock. Flint grumbled as he checked their equipment. You're making a mistake. You don't know what's waiting for you out there. Fred secured his mask. That's what we're about to find out. The outer hatch released with a metallic hiss, and they stepped into the open ocean. The moment they left the station, the silence was overwhelming. The deep blue abyss stretched around them, broken only by the dim glow of the pod's exterior lights. Tiny bubbles trailed from their regulators as they swam forward, following a row of power cables running along the ocean floor. Velma pointed ahead. A figure in a black wetsuit was crouched near the power conduits, moving quickly. Daphne's eyes widened. Who is that? Fred signaled for the group to move forward. But before they could get close, the figure turned, and the water around them erupted with movement. The mysterious diver kicked off the seafloor and vanished into the darkness. Fred and Daphne swam after them, pushing forward with strong strokes, but the figure was too fast. Velma gestured toward a thick bundle of cables running toward the park. A small metal device was clamped onto one of the wires, blinking faintly. Daphne swam closer. This could be controlling the ghost projections. Fred examined it. We need to get this back to the surface. Shaggy waved frantically. Yeah, that's great, but can we talk about the other things swimming around down here? Scooby barked in alarm, and Velma turned just in time to see another shape moving in the water. Not the diver. Something else. A tall, drifting figure hovered just beyond their lights. A shadow with glowing green eyes, a metallic hook, and a tattered coat floating weightlessly. The spectral captain. The water around them grew ice cold. The gang remained still, their hearts pounding. The figure didn't move, didn't blink, it just watched. Then, the lights went out. Darkness swallowed them.
Trembling knees are weak, but a Scooby snack will do the trick. Scooby-Doo, where are you? Monsters, ghosts, and clues to pursue. Zoinks and Jinkies, what will we do? Stick with the gang, we'll pull it through.